Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, huge day in Lakerland. It's the trade deadline. It's the unveiling of the Kobe statue. And oh, by the way, a nationally televised game against the Nuggets. How's your Thursday looking? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, it's always free. It is never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with 23 is the way you say that number, 1,000 subscribers to the channel. Ton going on today. You've got the trade deadline. There is the unveiling of the Kobe statue. And the measuring stick game against the Nuggets. Of all of these things, I guess the first thing that comes up is the deadline, at least as we're recording in the late evening on Wednesday into Thursday. Lakers, like most of the league, have not made a move. Really no rumors out there that there's something imminent. Dan Wojcicki of the LA Times, obviously very well connected to what's going on with the team, talked about, just it seems at this point like impactful moves, large moves are unlikely. Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN, who I believe is fairly well connected, says he's not expecting anything from the Lakers. What is your read on all of this?
First of all, that I'm just excited. I know it's trade season because Angelo Russell is trending right now, because trade season and trade deadline season always involves D'Angelo Russell. And whenever D'Angelo Russell ever trends, because of the algorithms or whatever, how they read it, it always ends up Angelo Russell trending. So that is very, very excited. That's how you know.
I always picture that too. Like there's got to be plenty of people around the country named Angelo Russell, wondering what the hell they did. Like, what did I do that all of a sudden, my phone's blowing up? Dude, you're trending. Like, wait, what? Oh, it's trade season. I got you.
Trade season.
That's
Brian,
right.
Season.
Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100.
It's felt for like the last 24 to 36 hours that it was going to be a fairly soft trade deadline, even for no other reason than so many big names already got moved. If, say, over these last 24 hours and whatever lies ahead before the deadline, you had Damian Lillard, OG Anunoby, James Harden, Pascal Siakam, like all of these guys, like moving at that same time, you'd be like, wow, this is an incredible deadline. But they all moved either in the off season or at different points leading up to where we are right now. So a lot of that juice was already squeezed.
Yeah. The biggest names that were traded on Wednesday, a day ahead, the 36 hours or so before the deadline, were Simone Fontecchio from the Utah Jazz and Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman went to Boston from Memphis, which is a nice little pickup for the Celtics. But
Monte Morris going from Detroit to Minnesota, that's a nice backup point guard pickup.
It's a helpful bit. Like, we're talking stuff on the fringes here, where who's the biggest name? Is it Monte Morris? Is it Fontecchio? Like, this is what we're talking about here. I will say, when I saw the Fontecchio news, it did make me think, well, maybe Utah might be willing to get rid of some of their stuff. And I've always thought that, a couple rounders for a guy like Kelly Olynyk would be a nice little pickup for the Lakers. So we'll see, like, maybe if Utah is in that kind of dealing space before the deadline hits. But I mean, these are not major names. But the flip side, Andy, is, there aren't really any big names out there. Like, because the DeMar DeRozan chatter is really quieted down to almost nothing. And then after you've got Dejounte Murray, who's sort of all-star adjacent, I suppose, a pretty big name.
Although held out of
yes,
the game that was going on as we were recording. Back spasms, always a vague injury, Brian. That is
my back.
Back spasms. That is a tried and true vague injury, difficult to actually pin down as anything real or false. And this, by the way, this became super exciting because our buddy Dave McMenamin over at ESPN earlier today tweeted out, quote, Darvin Ham said D'Angelo Russell had a tune-up procedure yesterday and was unable to practice today being Wednesday. When asked about Russell's availability for tomorrow, Ham said, quote, we'll see. Then Dave quickly tweeted, Russell was present at the Lakers facility for practice today, however. Then he ended up tweeting out, LAL's Lakers injury report for Thursday's game against the Nuggets has not yet been submitted, so we don't know yet D'Angelo Russell's official status for the game. Yet Ham said Russell's procedure was, quote, pre-planned. Russell was seen walking around the practice court with no aid. Dave then tweeted out, this is just wonderful. A team spokesman for the Lakers clarified that D'Angelo Russell underwent a, quote, treatment rather than a procedure. Russell will likely be listed as questionable for the Denver game, a source familiar with his status told ESPN. And then maybe about, 20 minutes before we started, 20 minutes, an hour before we started recording, D'Angelo Russell is not on the Lakers injury report for the Denver game tomorrow. So whatever treatment he underwent, he appears to have been recovered from. It could have been like a hair treatment.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, everybody's like, Darvin said he had a procedure. This is a surgery. It's like, okay. First of all, Darvin is not a doctor. Darvin is just, he had a thing, like a procedure, a thing, or whatever.
He's barely a coach.
Boom. Hey, hi-yo. Look, and like everybody's like, he had some kind of surgery. They're holding him. And what's going on? These words are very kind of fungible here. Like if I have a cyst, I know. But like if I have a cyst removed, like I used to have like a little cyst on my head. I once had to have it taken. I had it taken off. Guy goes in with a scalpel. They give me a little injection. He goes in with a scalpel. It's very similar to the bump Darvin has, and they take that out. Is that a procedure or is that a surgery?
Might be a treatment.
It could be a treatment. I don't know. Like I don't know. It is. I think technically a surgery. It's extraordinarily minor, but I think it's still surgery. A guy brought out a scalpel and cut me open. This is where we are, and Murray's not playing. And I think like Alec Burks sat, like everybody. And look, with guys like all the guys on the Pistons, yeah, I think, you could, Bogdanovic, I think was held out of the game, like, or at least popped up on an injury report. Like, okay, those guys, I buy it, but like people are just dying for some action on Wednesday into Thursday.
Bringing this full circle in terms of D'Angelo Russell's status and the mysterious treatment, whatever it is, I'm sure he'll be asked about it. Unless it's like a hair treatment, HIPAA probably covers whatever he doesn't have to reveal. There's privacy issues or whatnot. But D'Angelo Russell, if he is, I guess, proactively being held out before a game on the injury report, by then he'll be traded, so it doesn't matter how they list him.
It's really a good point. That
it really doesn't matter.
It didn't get enough attention. Like, whether or not he was being held out for what? Like it's the deadline, you're right, is after the game or is before the game. What are we doing here? That is an excellent point. I'm a little ashamed that I hadn't thought of it.
It's just all.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's phenomenal. What happened? Let's entertain this hypothetical. Boyke's right. Woj is right. Woj is right. And the Lakers don't make a big move. What does that mean for them going forward? That's next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver who likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Well, our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue, it is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive, Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. And gone are the days of connecting your phone, Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play Store. They're all built right into the 2.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. That's a big screen. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure, and Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Pathfinder. It has room up to 8, expensive cargo capacity, advanced 4x4 capability, and 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing. Basically, I looked it up. It's like a small elephant. So if you have a small pet elephant, which you shouldn't, you can now tow it to somewhere more appropriate for that elephant. So just dawned on me, you shouldn't have an elephant. Shop NissanUSA.com.
I just in the Department of Corrections and Retractions, just to make sure everybody's up to date here. Bogdanovic, in fact, didn't play in the game for the Pistons on Wednesday, but Alec Burks did. It's just that you would make sure everybody's conspiracy injuries are sorted out in the proper way. So yeah, let's just say they don't make a big move. And that it kind of is what it is. Dejounte Murray again did not play for the Hawks on Wednesday as they lost to Boston. I can't tell. I can't honestly say it feels like the Lakers are necessarily passing up a ton, because by most of the reports, the biggest reason it seems like the Lakers wouldn't end up making a deal with Atlanta for Murray is that the Hawks just don't like the return. The Lakers won't add Austin Reeves, I suppose, but
they won't add Austin Reeves.
Don't like the return.
Well, they won't add Austin Reeves, but it's also important to remember the Lakers can't add anything else in terms of draft capital. Like, they can't add another first round pick. They couldn't do that till this offseason. So there's only so much more the Lakers, forget what they're willing to add. And, D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves for Dejounte Murray, or something like that, or
GTFO, as the kids would say.
Yeah, or I don't know, Murray and Bogdanovic. Like, you start getting into an area where, like, really, how much bet you're just swapping out guys. And I think that's part of the issue for the Lakers is, in a perfect world, and look, you can make an argument for bringing in Dejounte Murray, if for nothing else, if you just like the idea of knowing that he's under long-term contract, and if you think he is better than D'Lo on top of it, okay. But the gap between D'Lo and Murray, unless you really believe in him being reinvigorated back to what people thought of him in San Antonio defensively, the gap between the two is not that big. It just isn't. Even if you think Murray's better fit,
he can be a better fit. He can be a better player. But yes, in absolute terms, it is not so big that you say, come on, like you're trading a backup for a starter, or a role player for a near all-star, or whatever it might be. I 100% agree.
Yeah, in a perfect world, you would try to add Murray to a backcourt of D'Lo and Austin Reeves. Like, all of a sudden, that's a really, really strong backcourt, but the Lakers just don't have the ability to do that. It's interesting. I had a Twitter exchange with Anthony Irwin, former host of Locked On Lakers, now host of the Lakers Lounge. Sure, and he has a Substack. I'm sure a lot of you listening are regulars for his show, regulars for Substack. If not, change that. It's good stuff. He is busting his ass to make both of them really take off. But we were talking back and forth about a concern he had that D'Angelo Russell, if the Lakers don't move him now, they could potentially end up losing him for nothing, because he has a player option that he could opt out of and then, I guess, go somewhere else for a better deal. And while I'm not going to discount that possibility outright, because clearly it could happen, nobody thought Dwight Howard was going to leave the first time he was with the Lakers, and he ended up going to Houston. But I don't consider D'Angelo Russell a particularly big flight risk, because he seems to want to be here. And I don't picture the market for him being that strong around the league because the market for D'Angelo Russell is never that strong.
He's not out on bail. Describe him as a flight risk. But I understand what you're getting at. It's like, I mean, then there's also the possibility he could enter into a nice, 18 to $22 million contract with the Lakers. It's like, he can't be two things at once. He can't be this player with no value around the league who nobody wants, and you can't get a bag of chips for, while also being this prized asset on the free agent market that's going to immediately leave the Lakers for greener pastures. He's one or the other, or I guess maybe something in between. But I just don't think the metric needs to be, is this a good trade or is it not? Every trade has potential upside. It has potential downside. I thought the Malik Beasley acquisition last year was going to be really, really fruitful for the Lakers. I was wrong. It's been really, really fruitful instead for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think anybody saw that necessarily coming in the way that it has. Like, there is always a potential, upside to a deal, but there's also a downside. And if the Lakers, who don't have tons of assets, do something because they feel like they have to, because they got to do something, you got to, have some action around the deadline to show that you're serious or whatever. Okay, that's fine. But you're also hamstringing your ability to make the team better in the offseason. And that doesn't necessarily mean Donovan Mitchell, although it'd be great if it did. You can use those 3 picks for other things. It doesn't just have to be a star. This roster needs some improvement. And so I don't think you can't overpay for Dejounte Murray. He's a very good player, but he's not.
They literally can't overpay for Dejounte Murray right now.
But even if they could throw in 2 picks and a couple swaps or whatever, it's like, he's not that good. Like, he is not one of those dudes that you say, like, for Donovan Mitchell or, Damian Lillard or one of these guys where you could say these are bona fide star/superstars where, okay, yeah, do I want to hold on to that other pick, or do I really want to add a pick swap or remove a protection? I don't. But we're talking about Damian Lillard or Kevin Durant or whoever it is. That's not Dejounte Murray. And so, if it turns out the Lakers wouldn't go all out in some way, shape, or form, I can live with that.
Well, because especially too, you start thinking about this. Okay, say it's D'Angelo Russell, the first, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and the Hawks want Max Christie on top of it. Forget the idea of losing Christie, whether the Lakers would, want to try to continue having this young player on their roster. He's one of the few young guys they have. You're now talking also about taking out 2 rotation players, because we don't know when Gabe Vincent's going to be back. Dave McMenamin, I forgot to mention this, actually tweeted out in the middle of D'Lo treatment updates that Cam Reddish's knee will be reevaluated by team doctors at the game on Thursday night.
And Vincent, there were reports on Vincent that were looking at, perhaps, early to mid-March, but that's still far enough away that you don't really know. I think ultimately, if they do make some moves, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not plugged in. I don't like trade season. I don't pay a ton of attention to the rumors because you and I have done this before. We are of this world. We did a lot of trade deadlines and all this stuff. Everybody lies. Everything is couched in, but that could change. Like, talks are dead for now. Like, wake me when it's over. I'm much more interested in, I wonder what the impact of that is, or looking back and seeing how something came together. I think it's more likely the Lakers say, okay, we've got some 2nd round picks, I think up to 5 that they can move. Could we find a Kelly Olynyk or an Alec Burks or something like that?
Royce O'Neal.
Dorian Finney-Smith for D'Lo and first rounds like that doesn't excite me. Because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul a lot in these situations. See if you can acquire a little bit of depth. Tyus Jones, that could have some value, and hope you catch somebody whose role fits perfectly. You get him at the right time on a hot streak or whatever it might be.
When the Lakers got Markieff Morris, it ended up the perfect time for Morris. I mean, most buyout candidates don't really amount to much during a playoff run. He happened to be somebody who made an impact.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of where they are. And it's not the Lakers are just being cheap or lazy or stubborn or whatever. There's very little movement across the league. And the names that are out there and available this year, it's just a down year. Some years the names are fantastic and there's stuff flying all around. Last year was really busy. This year it's not. It happens. Kobe Bryant's statue unveiling, Andy, is this evening. It is on the list of all of these statues that are really phenomenal events. Obviously, I think that the most emotional and the most anticipated for all the just tragic reasons. It's going to be an incredible evening in so many ways. Let's talk about it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. We are the easiest, most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. It's demon time on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money. Wow. With as little as just 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks offers also weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value, plus an excuse to get yourself more tacos as part of the theme, which is a win in and of itself. Prize Picks also now offers Apple Play for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
So I have no particular insight. I don't think I haven't seen anything teasing what this statue could look like. And I've thought what should it be? I've seen the pictures of the tent out on the plaza at LA Live and in the, the courtyard area where they put all these things. And I can't decide what I want it to be, like what I think would be. This is on the list of honoraries to try to create. This is it's a difficult one to get right. I think just because he means so much to so many people in so many different ways, and he's not here.
Well, the good news is I have full confidence in the Lakers to get it right. And all the people involved, including I'm assuming Vanessa Bryant, who I think tends to have a very good eye for this stuff. And, the sort of museum of sculptures outside the crypt has gotten increasingly better over time. Like the quality of these statues, like the Kareem one is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's a really beautiful work of art.
The Shaq one where it's actually hanging or suspended up in air, like is an amazing piece.
The recent Chick Hearn one is, I think, very clever. The Luke Robitaille one is really I feel like they should redo Magic.
They really need to redo Magics because it was kind of nice at the time, but even then, everybody was like,
"I don't get it."
They kind of missed the face, and what's he exploding out of? And what are we doing here?
Right, but I have no doubt, no matter what image they use for Kobe, it's going to be just meticulously and gorgeously done. I mean, the one that pops to mind to me, if I had to pick the one that just seems most fitting, most iconic, would be him on the scorer's table after that's Game 7 over Boston.
And is what I would do, but
biased in the sense that you and I were both in the building when that happened, so we're seeing it. We're both seeing him on that scorer's table in real time. Him with the finger up checking back to the bench after 81, when he's acknowledging the fans. That's a pretty iconic pose for Kobe.
Something, even but like if they wanted an actual, something with a turnaround jump shot. I mean,
the turnaround jump shot.
But to your point about the scorers table, the reason that's what I went with. A, it's an iconic image. B, it is a moment of sort of that unbridled joy from Kobe, and also I think the moment of his greatest triumph. It was winning that series outside, beating the Celtics, winning the multiple titles away from Shaq, like where, you beat Orlando. It's like, and it
was 2 seasons removed from losing to the Celtics in 2008, the 39-point beatdown in Game 6. There's also among the many reasons I agree with all the ones you listed for that one pose in Game 7 against Boston 2010. It's that connection with the fans. Yes. And Kobe I've never seen fans with a loyalty and a passion towards an athlete as Laker fans. I mean, really, Kobe fans with Kobe. Like I've described him before, for his most ardent fans, which were basically all of them. He's always been seen as half basketball god, half political prisoner. Mm-hmm. Like with the fervency with which they wanted to make sure you knew that they were in Kobe's corner. Like, and for all the reasons everybody knows, Kobe was polarizing and controversial throughout his career. And there were periods where being a Kobe fan was not easy. And Laker fans, the ones that really were with Kobe the whole time, treated that as a badge of honor and wanted to make sure that you knew that they were with Kobe. And that moment on the scorer's table, as much as anything, just speaks to the connection with those fans.
Honestly, the only thing that makes it hard for me is like just as a matter of practicality and artwork, when he's up there and he's holding the ball and he's screaming like that, and with that release, it may just be hard to see his face. Like you kind of want that statue where these things are so. He is. Kobe was always going to get a statue. That was never. It's not like that was up for debate, but it. Like the how they choose to do it, whether with the way they create that connection, like for people who haven't seen it, what makes the Chick Hearn statue so clever is that you can sit down next to Chick and take a photo and do that. Like, that's how it was set up.
My wife's done it.
Yeah, there's an empty chair next to Chick on the statue for people who've never been to the plaza. People are going to want that sort of some kind of connection where they feel like Kobe is looking at them or speaking to them, or I have no doubt that as a piece of artwork, it's going to be beautiful. But you get into, 8 or 24, you get into, Gigi, there's so many things in it that are emotional. Just because of the context, that it's not supposed to. Fundamentally, I guess what it comes down to me is like he was always supposed to get a statue. It's not supposed to be this way, and that's
he was supposed to be
so hard. Yeah, I mean,
like a couple things. First of all, just in case people weren't aware, Spectrum Sportsnet is going to be carrying coverage of everything leading up to the statue unveiling, beginning at 3 p.m. Pacific. Then afterwards, the full ceremony is going to be at Lakers.com. If you're not able to see that, it's a very, very tight ticket only event. So if you do not game tickets will not get you access to the ceremony. So just unless you know for a fact that you have a ticket for this statue unveiling, don't go. You're not going to be able to get in. But starting February 9th, it's going to be open to
which is Friday.
Traffic. Right.
Yeah.
So it's
you don't have to wait long. Yeah.
Right. The other thing that came to mind, thinking about this statue, is that it's likely the final big ceremonial remembrance of Kobe by the Lakers, like at Staples, or maybe even by the NBA. Like there was the jersey retirement, which thankfully Kobe was still alive, that he was there, part of that ceremony. And then there was obviously the memorial at Ben Staples Center, which you and I were both at, and was incredibly well done and emotional and touching. And then there was the pregame memorial, the first game back for the Lakers, which again, we were both at, very powerful as well. There was the Hall of Fame induction. And this is likely it. Like, there'll be anniversary remembrances, I'm sure. Like I could see something being done for like the 30-year anniversary of Kobe entering the league, or like 20 year of 81. But it just sort of hit me. I'm like, this is probably the last of these really, if he got a street named after him or something, that would be in Newport. And I doubt the Lakers would be involved with it, like directly involved.
Yeah,
with
maybe.
It
it could be, but either way, you saw, like I was watching on Spectrum, they were doing some of the statue, kind of going through all these different statues and and replaying some of these ceremonies, including obviously ones that Kobe attended. And we haven't reached that place yet where like styles start to change, or the way footage looks started to change, like where it feels like there's real distance between the present day and that crash. Like everything's still, like when you see him talking to Robert Ory's kid, other than knowing that like Ory's kid now is like in college or something like that, like it doesn't, like that could be yesterday, that could be today, that could be tomorrow. He doesn't look, and it's still beyond exceedingly tragic. It is just strange. It is weird. It is, but it will be a great night. It'll be a difficult night, I think, to go out and play, but
it's also it's also something too. The Lakers do these things exceptionally well.
Yes.
One last thing, bringing it back to D'Lo, it would be, this is obviously not a reason to avoid trading D'Angelo Russell if you like a deal for him, but it would be kind of ironic if he was traded on this day of Kobe's statue unveiling, in that he was actually a teammate of Kobe's on the Lakers. And he's one of the few remaining in the league that actually did play with Kobe. Like I'm not counting the Olympics, but like in the NBA, it's like, it's D'Lo, it's Randall, it's Clarkson, it's Nance. Like there's not that many guys.
Well, we'll have plenty more to talk about after the game on Thursday. Obviously the deadline, obviously the results of the actual game. I'm sure comments about the statue ceremony itself. And it's a big weekend for the Lakers on the floor. So we'll see what they look like after the deadline. And I'll be back to recap it all. We'll see everybody tomorrow.